The misconception of vampires shape-shifting into bats comes from the story I'm about to tell you. Remember, this is all hypothetical, as vampires don't exist, apparently. But if you do like these hypothetical stories, remember to follow, like, comment, share. Okay, here we go. The story I'm about to tell takes place in 1472. Sorry, I couldn't remember the date. I do a lot of research. In Argentina, a villager named Raphael discovered that witches were capable of making vampires. He heard that becoming a vampire could save him from the sickness that he was suffering from. At the time, no one knew what the sickness was. We now know that that was TB that he had, tuberculosis. Anyway, in an effort to cure himself, he went to a witch and asked them to change him. During this time and many centuries after that, witches were hunted and labeled as demons. So she did what any smart person would do. She lied. She acted as if she didn't know what he was talking about and refused to talk about the situation anymore. He threatened to out her to everybody, knowing the punishment witches can get. He tried to use that as leverage, but she knew it was better to plead her case in front of everyone as opposed to admit to being a witch. So she called his bluff and told him to do what he has to do. Now, obviously, he can't tell anybody about her because he needs to be cured. So instead of telling everyone about her, he kidnaps her daughter. Days go by and she doesn't know where her daughter is. She's frantic, she's scared. And then he finally comes to her again and says, I need you to change me or I'll kill your daughter. Being in the position that she was in, she agreed to change him to a vampire, but not the vampire that he thought he was going to change into. Just some context, in this day, witches turned humans into rats as punishment, but she felt like this punishment wasn't severe enough for him. So instead, she granted him the gift that he wanted so badly. She turned him into a vampire, but a deformed one. She told him that to cure his sickness, he would have to consume blood, and she gave him all the gifts to find the blood. She gave him excellent sight. She gave him excellent hearing, an excellent sense of smell. He could smell or hear blood vessels from a very far ways away. But what she didn't tell him was that she was going to make him the perfect combination of a vampire and a rat. This is why vampire bats are one of the only bats to walk and crawl. Unlike vampires who do consume blood, but can also consume the foods humans consume, vampire bats only consume blood, which means for the rest of his life, he'll have to be consuming blood if he wants to keep the TB at bay. As time went on, he reproduced, and more people started seeing what vampire bats do. By the 1500s, the village was inundated with vampire bats. They would bite horses and pigs and goats and sometimes humans. As time went on and humans were getting bitten more and more, vampires were being blamed. Because the humans never caught vampires biting humans, but constantly caught vampire bats biting humans, they assumed that vampires were shape-shifting into vampire bats. Also, vampire bats weren't called vampire bats in the beginning. They were called Desmodus rotundus. That name was quickly discarded after folklore and reality started to blend.